My name is Rowlands. I am a nutritional balancing practitioner, and if you like my videos and you want to send in a question for me to answer, please email me at lewis@deephealingspace.com. That's also if you would like to start a nutritional balancing program. If you enjoy my questions and you enjoy my videos, please feel free to send in a donation. It's very, very, very helpful for me to be able to provide all this information for you. The link is www.paypal.me/Lewis Rowlands. Alright, so this is going to be an interesting video. I'm going to talk about the idea of light workers. Now, this is a little bit esoteric. One of them, probably the most esoteric video that I'm going to do on that I've done so far on the YouTube channel. And what I've decided to do on this video is I'm going to talk through an article by Dr. Lawrence Wilson entitled Lightworkers, and I'm going to just talk a little bit around that, about my experience with it. And I'm sure many of you guys watching will probably resonate with this article because generally people who are not lightworkers will probably not click on this link. So I first come across this article a few years back, and I have to admit it was one of the articles that was a bit of an eye-opener for me, because although it was really weird for me to read about it, I kind of knew that on one level that this is the type of person that I am. So it was quite a big weight off my shoulders, really, just to think, if this is true, then it's really nice to think about that, because I am probably one of these people. And a lot of my friends, actually, I've give this article to them, and it often just kind of makes them feel much more lighter, kind of like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders, because oh man, finally after all these years, this seems to be the person that I am. And even if you don't believe in it, then it's just nice to kind of think about it, and just nice to kind of think, if that is true, or even if it's not true, then it's just a nice way of looking at life and approaching life. So I'll just start to read it. Okay. Like paratroopers dropped into enemy territory, tens of thousands of light workers exist in the world. They are beautiful souls who live to serve others. In all walks of life, they shine their light wherever they go. Their coming to Earth required great courage and compassion in most cases, for planet Earth, while beautiful, is rather harsh and primitive. Life on Earth is not easy, especially for the sensitive souls. Helping the people on Earth is the reason why they are here, but first they must establish a beachhead, join up with their regiment or spiritual family, and begin to heal their own wounds. For their mission, all have volunteered. Volunteers in Earth embodiment, they are called. They are, in fact, not from this planet, but come from many distant places. Reading this, you are most likely a member of this special group. Many wander around, desperately needing to know this. So, a few things that have come up in the past few years that have been interesting for me. I've had the opportunity to speak to some very, very enlightened psychic readers, and I've had three people I've spoke to, and I've only spoke to around 3 or 4 psychic healers, and strangely enough, each one of the psychic healers have told me that my soul personally, has lived on a different planet, an advanced planet, and I've kind of reincarnated into an Earth body, and one of my jobs on Earth is to heal myself and to heal others. Now, I understand maybe I'm going to lose quite a few people talking about this, but the more that you kind of heal, and the more that you understand the truth, and the more that you understand God and the universe, and the more you understand how souls work, the more this starts to become apparent. When you start removing the toxins, when you start removing toxic friends from your life, when you stop going to jobs that you don't like, and start raising your energy, raising your vibration, your life becomes much more colourful, your friends become much more colourful. You start to realise that we're being lied to. You start to realise that there's like evil people that run the earth. You start to realise that there's a high possibility that there's other civilizations out there. You start to look into things like life after death experiences. Then all this stuff starts to become much more apparent and much more real. So the stage of unawareness. Most light workers have not yet awakened. They live ordinary lives and often struggle to survive. They agreed to a period of relative unawareness. In this way, they learn the first-hand problems of the earth. This is to prepare them for their later work. Many suffer and struggle, not because they are damned or lacking, but to make them better teachers. Now, I suppose that's a really nice paragraph, really. Just basically saying that, you know, in order to become a good teacher, you have to go through challenging situations. And I can assure you now, I've been through challenging situations, and I had to go through them challenging situations in order for me to be the person that I am today, in order for me to become aware and become like interested in just seeking the truth and seeing different sides of the story. I think I remember when I really started opening my eyes to how the world could be different. I remember my friend introduced me to a YouTube video about DMT, about dimethyltryptamine. It's the active ingredient in ayahuasca, and you know, these DMT is made in the brain, it's made in the pineal gland. You know, it's released when you're born, it's released when you die. It's a chemical found in pretty much every animal and species on Earth, plant species. And I remember watching that film and just thinking, wow, like for some reason it just resonated with me. You know, these people will take this substance and they'll go to different, you know, they'll see different dimensions and different realities, different entities, and you know, there's little things like, you know, these people would see 4, 5, 6 dimensional objects. They'll see different colours, for example, and you know, for me, like, how can the brain see a 4 or 5 dimensional objects or a different colour if it's never physically seen it before? Do you understand what I mean? Like, the brain has to surely see this thing physically for it to understand it. So when these people are kind of taking this substance and seeing these like 4 and 5 dimensional objects and different colours, to me, it's like they've gone to, you know, a different dimension. You know, these people don't see like colours or kind of, you know, they see like complex machinery, like complex landscapes and different civilizations and different planets. It's like, how can a drug like do that, you know? But you know, make up your own minds, do some research on DMT, ayahuasca. There's a really cool guy called Terence McKenna. I remember when I was at university, when I started getting into all this stuff and I started realising, whoa, like the world is actually like, there's something else going off. You know, I started looking into like conspiracy theories, you know, the whole kind of 9/11 thing, and I was thinking, whoa, there's something, you know, something's not right, something's, you know, the conspiracies around pharmaceutical industry. You know, I started to realise that there's something else going off, and that was the start of my evolution, my spiritual evolution and my growth. And you know, one of the reasons why I do nutritional balancing, because it's very much connected with that spiritual aspect. By doing the nutritional balancing program, you will feel that and you'll get guided and all this kind of stuff. So it's very, very powerful. But yeah, you know, if I'm a light worker, you know, I was not awakened and I was living a life trying to fit in, basically, when in reality there's no point in fitting in. If you're a soul, there's a certain kind of soul that's more spiritually orientated. You know, you'll drive yourself insane if you try and fit into modern day society. Okay, so souls neutralized. There are many casualties among the lightworker troops. Growing up is particularly bad. First of all, most mothers today, especially in places like Africa and Asia, but really in all nations, are terribly malnourished and toxic, even though they may look healthy. Their babies are born malnourished and toxic. This is almost universal today to varying degrees. This means their brains and their bodies do not function well, which brings on physical and emotional diseases of every kind imaginable, along with great pain and suffering in some cases. in some cases. Trusting and generous, they are kind, honest souls, isolated in earth families. Early childhood is rough. Medical drugs and vaccines further poison their bodies, while the diets are usually horrendous. In addition, abuse is not uncommon, both physical and emotional. Without knowing it, troubled parents harm their children. Many simply do not know how to provide the love and guidance their children require. Some act like vampires, robbing children of their innocence. All children are wounded to a degree. School is often a disaster, with gifts and talents not encouraged and often suppressed by the public school system. Private schooling, and best of all homeschooling, is far better in most cases. The public school system destroys many lightworkers. Many rebel or stop learning, although they are very intelligent. The stigma of poor schooling may haunt them for the rest of their lives. Badly confused in childhood, many never wake up to who they are. Selfish earth dwellers find them easy targets. Self-esteem declines further in dead-end jobs, dysfunctional relationships and very incompatible marriages. Most never awaken and just exist in what is called a soul death. Confused and discouraged, the soul has been buried. It's as if they are in a coma, only partially alive. Fear, doubt and depression are often their companions. We say such ones have been neutralized, their mission aborted or at least delayed. So I can definitely relate to this. I grew up and I was, I don't want to sound like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I was gifted and talented in every single subject at school. My artwork was very, very high quality for a young age. In fact, all of my drawings from school, I left school now 10 years ago, are all framed and they're in the school hall. They haven't took them down for 10 years. I used to go to gifted and talented mathematics. I played sports at a very high level. I was in a school of excellence for sports. I got top grades for everything, but I struggled a lot, and I mainly struggled because although school did try and help me a little bit with my talents, schools just strip kids of their unique identity, and everyone has to wear the same uniform, and everyone's sat at desks, and everyone's in like an uninspiring environment, and a lot of kids don't get to cultivate their unique skills. They're learning subjects that they don't want to learn. They're learning things in science and maths that, in my opinion, are just unnecessary, and you don't create this unique individual kind of sense of self. And I was just trying to fit in because I felt really kind of different. But you don't realise that you might be a little bit different in terms of your kind of soul advancement or soul wisdom. So I had a lot of confusion, and I was brought up in a family that was very, I wouldn't even say scientifically oriented. They wasn't religious, they wasn't even into science. They was just kind of, living life, going out drinking, and I didn't have a bad upbringing, compared to a lot of people. I'm very, very grateful actually for some of the skills and my personality and stuff that my parents put into me. But at the same time, you can't cultivate the uniqueness and creativity that would have probably been better for me personally in that particular environment. So I turned a lot to drugs and alcohol to kind of fill this gap, to fill this need of expression, and it was the wrong way to go about it. In many ways it was what I needed in order for me to grow, but I needed to kind of really debilitate myself in order for me to become more enlightened, I suppose. But if it wasn't for Dr. Wilson's website, then I would have probably just carried on a downward spiral. So, the stage of awakening. Every light worker's intent is to wake up. Their real talents go to waste if this does not occur. Awakening often begins with a feeling of discontent. At times, sheer despair hastens the process along. Deep inside, they start to feel that there must be more to life than this. Help is made available to anyone who desires it. Nothing can substitute for the desire and intent to awaken and be all that one was created to be. Like sending out a worldwide distress signal, this brings help, often in unexpected ways. They are guided by unseen helpers day and night. These attempt to communicate with them, love them, and to lead them along their way. However, the veil of unawareness can be hard to penetrate. Minds busy and fearful miss the gift of guidance. Lucky ones have chance meetings with others already in service, and this leads to their awakening. Like soldiers dropped into a war zone, light workers stand a better chance by knowing others like themselves. Other light workers are their true family and the only ones who understand them. Reading this article or listening to this video, you are hereby joining with a large family of light workers, all of whom are in service. The key we have found is you must begin a nutritional balancing program in order to balance and strengthen yourself. The details and what happens when you do this are in the article, or send me an email, lewis@deephealingspace.com, email below. So do not despair. There is much you can do, no matter where you find yourself, no matter how alone you mistakenly think you are. So of course, when you live in a environment which doesn't appreciate this sense of guidance, which doesn't appreciate this sense of God, then you're going to miss any guidance that's coming to you. Now, I started to feel that coincidences stopped being coincidences as soon as I started the nutritional balancing program. Things started to happen to me that I just couldn't explain. Especially a lot of things related to money. I started to get money out of nowhere when I needed to heal. I started to meet people that was just totally like on the same vibe as me, and I could speak to them for the first time ever. I started to feel all these different emotions, energy, chakras. Luckily for me, like I could feel the energy when I was doing the pushing down exercise, like pretty quick, like instantly. It was very, very intense for me. So guidance started to come to me, although I still wasn't aware of it. It was only like 3 years into the program when I really started to kind of get in touch with that. And even now it's just going deeper and deeper and deeper. But you start to realise that if you tune in and your brain is open, your brain is clear, that there is guidance there that's guiding you along different things. And the more, what's the saying? If you take one step closer to God, God will take 10 steps closer to you. And that's true. It's weird, but if you start to notice that there's a higher intelligence there, that there's someone looking out for you, there's someone guiding you, there's someone not in control, but someone who's kind of helping the growth of people, and you make the intent to speak to that intelligence, you will get things back. Pretty intense. So that's pretty cool. So, difficulties of awakening. Some lighters become stuck in the stage of awakening. Overwork, nutritional imbalances and toxic exposure create a lot of stress. This discourages many, as energy is required to overcome the past and get on with their true work and healing and service. Often dull routines become comfortable even if they lead to nowhere. False secular ideas that seem modern often lull the light workers and destroy them. All secular ideas are wrong, by the way. In some cases, medical or recreational drugs, alcohol or sexual involvements weaken the awakening soul. Intimate relationships can help or may stop awakening. They can become great distractions. Sexual partners, though one does not realise it in the heat and infatuation, can be spiritually compatible. The less developed one holds back the other, who is often a light worker. However, some relationships have the opposite effect, strengthening and awakening two light workers when the basis of the relationship is a spiritual bond to serve the light together. The lure of materialism seduces some workers. In other cases, fame or fortune can lull a soul back to sleep. Others cannot escape the pressures to conform. They are frightened to stand alone. Their desire is to belong and to be accepted. They fear letting their light shine. Some become perpetual seekers, running from group to group or teacher to teacher. They believe they are progressing, but their search remains only on the surface. Guilt plagues many lightworkers. Many feel guilty for the suffering they see. Although it is not their fault and thus it is incorrect, this guilt slows awakening. Some feel false guilt because they are not starving to death or living in a hovel. They even feel guilty for living on earth. All of this slows their progress and may take them off their path. As a result of home and school experiences, some develop a hatred of all forms of authority. Although skepticism is a positive trait, distrust and cynicism harm the body and close the mind to rational thinking. They also open the soul to negative beings who know how to manipulate your anger and distrust. So I suppose luckily for me that I managed to push through a lot of the times when I was kind of pulled back, but I've been in this situation before where you move off the path. You know, I think Luke did a video on the narrow path, I think it's called, and there is a narrow path. It's in the Bible, the straight and narrow path, and you'll move off it. And I've moved off it loads of times. I've got involved with alcohol while on the program, and it kind of pushes you off because you're just trying to conform, you're just trying to be like your friends, you know. I've got involved in sexual relationships that has, in one way, slowed down my development, but in another way, I learnt a lot. So, you know, it depends how you look at it. Like, you know, sometimes I would drink, but I would learn from it. So back on the path, I've been in a sexual relationship, I would learn from it, back on the path. Maybe if I would got into a sexual relationship with someone and kept doing that for a long time, then it starts to get too detrimental. So luckily for me, I've always managed to kind of come on the path, but I'm still growing, I'm still becoming an individual. But I suppose other light workers will get kind of soul death, and they'll move off the path, and they'll kind of, you know, get into a job or get into a career, or even have children, I suppose. Can all kind of confuse the mind and cloud the mind a little bit. So you've got to be quite aware when it comes to stuff like this. I felt guilty in the past, you know. Should I become this light that I feel like I should be? Should I progress? Should I question things too much? I was thinking to myself, well, other people don't question things, and other people seem to conform, and why am I so kind of strict? And, you know, why do I feel like I can be such a powerful force on earth? And, you know, he starts feeling guilty and you start feeling a bit weird, but in reality, like, it's best just to forget about that. I'm starting to become my own person. I wear colourful stuff just because I want to, like, express myself, you know. And my friends are the same, like, they just like to express themselves. And I'll walk down in the town centre and I'll see people that are just like, everyone just looks the same, just dull, heads down, just wearing dull colours. And because they're conformed, because they're toxic. And my friends will dance around the streets and we'll have a laugh and shout and sing, and, you know, people just are not used to seeing that at all. And it's a lot of the reasons why I'm like that is because I've just kind of, for the most part, I do not care about what society thinks about me, because I know that we've been lied to and the earth is run by bad forces for the most part, but there is a lot of love and a lot of joy and a lot of colour and a lot of good things out there, and you've just got to, like, break through all them barriers and just be the person you want to be. You know, as it said in this article, you need to find your spiritual tribe, and it's super, super helpful. They're out there, just pray, just be intent, you know, put the intention out there, they'll come to you. And just be the person you want to be, you know, and do the Nutritional Balancing Program, because the more you do it, the more you'll release toxins, the more you'll release emotional baggage, and the more of the real you will start to come out. And it's a really fascinating process, it's a beautiful process. You know, be careful about relationships. You know, it's so easy to fall into a relationship out of need. You know, like, you feel bored or you feel lonely, or society makes you feel like you need a relationship, when in reality a better thing to do would be able to work on yourself. And when you're completely comfortable within yourself, and, you know, you're happy, you're financially secure, you've got a good job that you enjoy, then maybe you might want to think about getting into a relationship with someone who's compatible. But, you know, these are all the things that you need to learn and to work through. You know, don't think I had these ideas 3 years ago. You know, I felt like I needed a relationship. and now I realised that it was out of need, really. It was out of kind of pressure from society. Although it was beautiful. I met some beautiful people, and I'm sure they're probably light workers in their own right, but you know, it is something to be aware of. The hazards of cults. Cults are a terrible hazard as one awakens. They include false religions and many so-called spiritual groups, dietary systems such as raw food and vegetarianism, and some political affiliations are also types of cults. Too often they offer ideas that are false or exaggerated. Pressure to conform replaces the search for truth. Eager for simple packaged answers, the awakened mind is easily lured. Cults often appear as spiritual paths, but they can stop the awakening process. Instead of truth, one learns the teaching of the group. Waking up is not the same as learning ideas and rituals. Instead of joining groups, they would be better to seek out ways to dig deeply within, to find their own answers and deeply heal the mind and body. This website can help. So I understand it's difficult because I'm obviously saying that Dr. Wilson's a good, truthful path, and kind of making people believe that that's the case is difficult. The best thing to do is to start a nutrition balance program and give it a try for 2, 3, 4 months and understand it at least. And you'll start to realise that this is not a cult. It is something that whereby you could go within and you question yourself and you start to heal deeply, and the truth is within. The truth will start to come out, and that's how you know that this is a more truthful path. If you're listening to gurus, if you're looking outside for your validation, for your answers, and not looking within and not searching within, and you know, sometimes seeing some of the dark sides of you and dealing with your demons, like that's the way to really kind of become a true light worker and like blossom from within. It's by doing that inner work, healing yourself, healing your mind, healing your spirituality. Definitely, you know, it's what the universe wants. You know, the kingdom of heaven is within, and you first need to seek that. And it's difficult to understand, but you'll realise that as you start to heal yourself, that is true. And you know, it's in many ways it's the most important thing that you should be thinking about. So, prevention. Protecting light workers begins before their birth. Young women need counselling to prepare them for motherhood unless they improve their health drastically. All women's bodies today contain many toxic metals and harmful chemicals that poison their children before they are even born. Nutrient deficiencies in young women are also universal today, no matter how beautiful they look or how they feel. This is the truth, I assure you. Prenatal care needs to begin today, no matter how young you are, ladies. Medical prenatal care is not nearly enough and is almost a joke. It is so bad. Special care needs to continue once a child is born. Both men and women need parenting skills. Most earth cultures provide poor guidance in this area. Physical and emotional health require constant vigilance. If possible, keep children away from all medical drugs, over-the-counter products, surgery and especially vaccines. Keep children away from toxins in all forms, even metal braces, which usually contain nickel. Schooling requirements for light workers are unique and often hard to find. Homeschooling is best unless a special school can be found. Avoid the politically correct and liberal schools. Public schools are often like sending a child to prison or a war zone, sadly, where they learn false ideas and false values. Also, they're exposed to junk food, many sick children, and other problems. A very positive and protective environment is critical to help a light worker child grow up intact. Special needs continue into the teenage years. Here, temptations are great as pressure builds to conform. Very involved and gentle but forcefully protective parents can help a child pass happily through these years. At all stages, the main need today for these lovely young people is protection and more protection, not experiences or experimentation, as many teach today. Protection, however, does not mean to deny them from safe experiences. In this way, some light workers might make it through high school intact, but most are so lost and confused they can barely function correctly. College life often finishes them off, just like me. The moral climate is often horrible, rape is common today, and food habits are worse. And the education is often a waste of hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the sad plight of most light workers today. A few wise ones decide not to go to college as it gives them time to relax and hopefully helps them to become centered and grounded before moving on to adulthood. Some can handle college or have a positive experience. So this is the problem that we've got today. Like, parents are just having constant pressures in modern day society. Like you say, there's vaccines, there's toxins, there's mobile phones, technology, Xboxes, junk food, sugar, media, and all these are just radio stations, all these are surrounding a child. As I've matured and had more experiences, I have met groups of people, families that are much more open-minded, and they tend to stick together. Some of my friends have children and they go to like forest school, for example, more of a wilderness school where they're outside a lot and they're engaging, and these families meet together, and some homeschool. So although they live in like society, they have their own little universe inside, and the children all meet up with other children that are on more of a kind of healthy spiritual mindset. And I've got to admit, when I look at them children, they seem much more advanced than their peers. They're much more able. They're much more, you can see in their eyes, they're much more conscious because they're not being eating rubbish. They're unique. They're individual. You know, they wear what they want to school. They are encouraged to do their own things and do things that they're really genuinely interested in. And from what I can see, it's a much better way of doing things. Still, I'm learning about that. In many ways, like my ill health, the fact that I was brought up in an environment that kind of made me sick and confused, like in a way I'm grateful for it. Because as you say, like it does make you a better teacher. If it's true about souls, about how souls inhabit bodies and how we have a mission before we come on to Earth or onto different planets, then it would make sense that if you are a light worker, you might choose to be in a family that would promote kind of ill health in order for you to fix it, and then in order for you to help other people. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of swings and roundabouts, really. But hopefully, far into the future, we would want to be doing this sort of thing where women are healthy, children can express themselves fully and properly, and we have a different way of viewing how we bring up children in a way that seems to ensure that their individuality is much more secure, and they are brought up on good quality food, and they're exposed to healthy, wholesome experiences, and not watching 99% of the crap that's on TV or even on the internet. It's just a waste of time. So, rehabilitation. For the reasons above, rehabilitation for most light workers is a pressing need. Two important areas are health and self-esteem. Health. Every light worker's body needs work today. There are no exceptions. The prevailing medical system is often little help and, in fact, is quite harmful in most cases. Light workers' bodies are very reactive to poisons. Drugs and surgery may be especially toxic for them. A nutritional balancing program is most helpful, not herbs, random vitamins, or homeopathy. These do not work well enough today. All bodies at this time are exposed to toxic chemicals, weakened by radiation, and debilitated by chronic infections. This clouds the thinking, depletes one's energy, and blocks receptivity to guidance. One will be amazed how toxic the body was as the poisons begin coming out. Several years to a decade or more of purification are needed, regardless of how healthy they may think they are. Nutritional balancing is especially suited for these souls. Please avoid cleansing diets, raw food and vegetarian regimens that will destroy the body, I find. So yeah, I mean, one of the things I used to kind of think is, you know, why am I reacting massively to recreational drugs and junk food and other people are not? Maybe it's because I'm a light worker, maybe it's because my body is just super sensitive to poisons and stuff, because I didn't really, yeah, I did drink and do drugs, but I wasn't like hard. It wasn't a hard thing for me. You know, like all my friends used to do it, you know, more, still do it now. But they tend to have this resilience that I never had. So that's something I always kind of thought about is, you know, why can't I handle this but other people can? Maybe this is the answer. I'd like to think it is. And then self-esteem. So restoring self-esteem is often a lengthy process. It goes hand in hand with restoring the physical body. One will not succeed, in some cases, without the other. Unhappy memories need to be cleared, false ideas need to be exposed and discarded, anger, hatred, guilt and resentment need to be released. Everyone and everything that happened in the past needs to be forgiven, including of course oneself. Lightworkers need to learn to live in truth, with truth and for truth. Trying to conform or even accommodate the insanity around oneself will only make one insane. Never a truer quote quite that. Never a truer quote like that one. Trying to conform or even accommodate the insanity around oneself will only make one insane. Don't do it. You've got to seek the truth. You've got to seek what's real. Question everything. Question the TV. Question your friends. Question your family. Question the clothes that you wear. Question the products that you put on. Question everything. It's the only way to really be your true self. It's what I have done and I continue to do day in, day out. My life is so much different to the people around me. It's hyper flexible. I have massive amounts of freedom. I'm financially secure. I have good quality friends, and it's just bizarre to other people when I speak to them about my life, and I don't feel guilty anymore. I don't compare myself to other people. I don't worry about things as much anymore. Things don't shock me. And my self-esteem is much better than what it was a few years ago. And my self-esteem is better because I feel like I understand the truth and I live by the truth. And I feel like Dr. Wilson's website and Nutritional Balancing is the #1 reason why I've managed to get to this level. And I can see now from reading this article that I am going through the stages that Dr. Wilson outlines. So for anyone who's questioning it, hopefully here's here's someone who's actually living it, who has lived it. Still got a lot to go, no doubt. Still got a lot of learning, a lot of detoxing, but I feel like, you know, I've gone through a massive hurdle, which has a lot to do with seeking the truth, finding the truth, being your own person, improving your self-esteem, improving your health, restructuring your friends, restructuring your work, etc, etc. To me, like my life is, I'll see it a little bit like a waterfall, like a beautiful waterfall, and you know, nature is beautifully balanced, and you know, there's some things in my life that it's a little bit like someone's put a little bit of oil into the waterfall and it just doesn't feel right. You know, I still do a little bit of web design, for example. I had one person that I used to work for a few weeks back and just didn't feel right. It was as if someone had put some oil in my waterfall, and it's just didn't feel right. And it's about questioning that, listening to that inner voice, listening to your gut feeling, and that, in the end I ended up dropping that client and just feel much better for it, much lighter, because it just wasn't resonating with me, wasn't resonating with the truth. And I try and do everything these days that resonates with what's truthful. So one of the reasons why I do these videos, because I truly believe that the biggest task we have on earth today is fixing our bodies, fixing our minds, learning the truth, fixing the environment, regaining community spirit, and finding a new way to live. And I feel that these light workers are definitely here to help in that process. So, self-love. Remembering self-love for a light worker is vital and essential. It requires great integrity and vigilance. It means living the truth as you see it, asking to know the truth since it is often subtle, accepting the consequences of your actions, and facing your fears each day. This strengthens the character and builds self-confidence. It requires knowing that much of the world's thinking is false. Also, everyone must understand that toxic metals, fatigue, nutritional depletion, and hidden fears and anger affect everyone's thinking. Many are surprised to learn that only by loving the self is real love for others possible. Often what they thought was love was really just a need or projection. That is why it didn't work out. One sees in someone else which one is missing. By possessing that one in love, one appears to acquire their traits. This seems like a shortcut to full development, but it brings unhappiness when the truth is revealed. For those in unhealthy jobs and relationships, this is most important. Rehabilitation takes several years or even decades. It is an exciting time of intense personal change, preparing the workers well for their future tasks. Aligning body, brain and soul, light workers must become fully conscious beings. So, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I fully love myself, because that would be a lie. And I would very much question anyone that says that they fully love themselves. Again, it's an ongoing process of self-love, and definitely like healing the body, healing the mind is very important. Obviously, I feel like I've kind of gone through, when I was talking about by only loving oneself is real love for others possible, and you can get into relationships out of a need or a projection. Like at the time I didn't realise that, like I didn't understand that in my mind, like I couldn't. Sometimes you need certain experiences for you to learn and to realise, and this is the reason why you meet certain people and you get into certain relationships, because it will bring up things and problems and personality flaws that you need to heal and you need to get over. So for me, being in relationships was important for me to learn about myself and to learn about what relationships are all about, and it's really, really taught me to understand that I really truly need to love myself from within and not feel the need to be in a relationship in a neediness kind of way. And although I was quite grounded and centered and healthy, looking back on it now, there was definitely a need there, just like the vast majority of the population get into relationships out of need because they haven't done the work on themselves, they haven't healed themselves, they haven't detoxed, they haven't questioned what they want to do in life, found their soul's purpose, let their light shine. Like only when you're doing that fully, you'll probably be in a much better position to be in a relationship with someone else who has a similar vibration. So the stage of service, this is the fun part, and I was always wondering when the fun part was going to happen. But I feel like the fun part is starting to begin now, especially with this YouTube channel. This is super, super fun for me to do. Once you've been through all these experiences and you realise the importance of helping others, then service becomes really fun. And especially if your cells are happy and vibrant and you've got freedom and you're financially okay, life becomes much more fun, especially when you meet your spiritual family, etc. So this is the fun part of the mission. As a light worker awakens and learns how to care for the body, mind and soul, life begins to proceed much more easily and smoothly. Miraculously, basic needs begin to be handled easily and energy remains for the task at hand. One's purpose is clear and cannot be swayed. Indeed, an entire army of like-minded souls is with you in spirit, and many in the flesh as well, doing their part in their little corner of the planet. I have no doubt that a guerrilla war is indeed underway between the forces of light and love, and those who would deceive you with love or hope and change when their real agenda is to preserve the status quo or to make things worse. Ultimately, the light workers will be successful if they keep to their nutritional balancing practices to keep up their strength and balance. As with all battles, there will be successes and failures, but the successes tend to grow. So I feel like I'm getting into that stage now. You've got to find out what works best for you. Everyone's different. I feel like sometimes you have to find your unique angle, and for me, making videos is just something that fills up my own inner soul. So it becomes really fun for me to be able to like give my advice and my information out to the world. There's just something about it that resonates with me. I did an interesting task a while back whereby this, I think it's John Gray, good guy, wrote the books Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And he talks about like figuring out what your mission and purpose is, your unique angle in life. And he said like write down some of the people that inspire you. So I wrote down some of the people that really inspire me. You know, like Dr. Wilson is an inspiration to me. I know I like people like David Attenborough is an inspiration to me. There's a cool guy called Lewis Howes that does like online video courses. He was quite an inspiration to me. John Gray is an inspiration to me, that how he kind of manages relationships and healing. There's another guy, I can't remember his name, who's created something called the Life Book. So all these people had these traits, and you kind of write down, you know, what traits these people have. So, you know, John Gray's expert on relationships, Dr. Wilson's not spiritual knowledge, Lewis Howes was kind of his ability to create online courses, David Attenborough with his connection to nature, you know. What's the other guy? I think his name's John Butler, I think. He's created this amazing life for himself. And, you know, there's another guy called Arthur Haynes who's into the whole rewilding movement, how to rewild themselves. And, like, if you write all these people down, you kind of get an idea of, like, what's your unique angle. And, like, from all of them, like, I'm a nature-based person. I like to help people. I'm interested in relationships. I'm interested in spiritual development. I'm interested in creating videos and online courses. So for me, like, being a nutritional balancing practitioner that learns about all these different things and then giving it out to the world kind of encompasses all them people, if you know what I mean. So it might be an idea for you to write down everyone that inspires you in your life and see what traits they all have, and then kind of find your unique angle as well. It's a good way of trying to find out your mission and purpose. But in reality, like, your main mission in life is to just be a light that shines on everyone. Just love everyone. Seems simple, but that's it really. But you can only do that with knowledge, with healing, with understanding. But yeah, to love God and love other people, like, that's the main mission. But in order to do that, you need to heal yourself, you need to heal the earth, you need to become knowledgeable, you know, provide service, etc., etc. So, falling back into sleep, or unconscious, or soul death. Beware, however, because opportunities to fall back to sleep are always present. Sometimes light workers that do well for a while slip back and forget their mission. Others who seem like laggards decide to awaken and become real troopers. As conditions of workers change, responsibilities are ever shifting. Those capable of greater effort are given larger assignments. Life is definitely not dull. Friendships and relationships may change, and entire careers may come and go. Living and working habits may also change. One awakens each day, not knowing what the day will bring, but feeling sure that with one's purpose aligned in service, all is in divine order. In fact, life for an awakened worker is a never-ending joy. One acquires a long-term view that eases daily stresses and strain. Life is a series of challenges, the ultimate outcome of which is already assured. God's little helpers are all working together to quietly shift the earth's vibration from fear and anger to love and joy. Slowly and surely, she responds to their noble efforts. It's a nice paragraph. Still working towards that. I definitely can say that life becomes much more joyful, much more freeing. When you start to, like, life is a little bit like picking fruits from the tree of God, from the Garden of Eden. You know, what fruits do you want to pick? You know, do you want to pick a lot of people are picking the rotten fruits from the floor, and they don't realise that there's beautiful fruits up there. And it's kind of the secret to kind of health and happiness is, you know, you pick from the tree of health, the Nutritional Balancing Program. You pick from your tree of good quality friends. You pick from the tree of good quality job that suits your needs. You know, you pick from the tree of good quality family relationships, and life is quite dynamic, and you keep like eating from these trees like every day, like everything's like joyful. Like, you look forward to seeing your friends, you look forward to doing your work, you look forward to eating food, you look forward to seeing family, like this is kind of what starts to cultivate. And it's really beautiful to see, because then life becomes much more joyous and happy and colourful, and it brings on a kind of a quality of its own. You create your own little universe that you kind of live in. So why does nutritional balancing help so much? Following a nutritional balancing program has a magical and awakening effect upon light workers. So do not resent your present circumstances, such as living with unsupportive parents or an unsupportive partner, or being alone or sick perhaps, or somewhat depressed. Just do your program, even if you don't like it and don't understand it. This is a must for today. Here is what it seems to do. So it fills in holes in the aura, making you literally more a solid and an intact person of character, strength and balance. It lets God and the angels know you're ready to serve them, because you are actively strengthening and balancing your personality, your brain and your body. It integrates the personality in unique ways that just seem to make things happen differently and better. It gets rid of blocks. This refers to traits and quirks of your personality that lead to mistakes, errors of judgment, accidents, diseases, bad relationships, financial problems and more. While it may seem odd, it seems that forcing yourself to be disciplined about your diet, your bedtime, your attitudes, taking a few supplements and doing enemas and saunas rids the body and soul of what may be called blocks to success. It builds a special kind of self-esteem based on real balance and inner strength that will serve you for the rest of your life. It helps you to become more detached and independent of your surroundings, so that you will begin to radiate blessings to all around you, instead of absorbing their negative and other energies that are ultimately harmful to you. Now I can say all them things have started to work their way on, started to integrate themselves into me. Definitely feel more solid, more intact. Definitely become a more independent person. You definitely start to question things and become more self-disciplined about, going to bed earlier, eating good food, avoiding getting yourself into bad relationships, avoiding mistakes, etc., etc. And the trick is just to follow the program, to listen to these videos, read articles, learn yourself, question everything, and be the light that you was put on earth to be. Alright, cool. So this has been a long video, so I hope you enjoyed it. It's been super nice for me to enlighten you all on the idea of being a light worker. If you've made it this far, you definitely are a light worker, so well done. If you'd like to start a nutritional balancing program, please email me, lewis@deephealingspace.com. Link is in the description. If you enjoyed this video and other videos, you can also donate. Link is in the description. And I will speak to you all soon. Okay guys, keep shining.